How are you? Hi. It's so good to be here again today. And I honestly hope that in the shortest time, I would conclude on, or rather, I'll be very sure on what days I'll be coming on live. But it's exciting to be here again today, and I'm happy about that. So, we're going to go into reading the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, just like our title says. We're looking at the richest man in Babylon. I need to confirm that you can hear my voice. Okay, so we're good. Yeah, guys, this is the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. So we started the video before now. So you can go, I'll see if I can link it somewhere up here for you to check and watch the part one. Although the book is not written in chapters, right? But that's the easiest way I can say it. So go and check the part one. We're going into the reading and the study of the part two. And I'm so excited because I was reading it. I'm like, guys, my people need to know what's happening in this book. All right. So let me be sure that we have everything set on call. Okay, I think we're good like this. This is good. This is better. So I don't have to even be stretching too much. Again, I'm hoping that in the soonest time, I will be certain as to what day of the week exactly I'll be coming on live. But till then, we just have to make do. I'm sure that in another 2 weeks, I'll get into it. Okay, so let's go into the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. The first chapter we shared on the man who desired gold, and we talked about the fact that desire is most important. Desire is the first step. Once you're able to get that part of desire, every other thing will certainly just fall in place. So let's come to the part two of the book, which is the richest, which is titled, surprisingly, it has the same title as the book. It is titled The Richest Man in Babylon. As it goes, I would read, I would explain how or what I think or see about each of the sentences. So let's go in. Remember, I talked about Akkad in the first chapter. So, in named Akkad, far and wide, he was famed for his great wealth. Also, he was famed for his liberty. He was generous in his charities. He was he was liberal in his own expenses, but nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. Now, I had to underline this part in my own copy of the book, and that's because for people, sometimes people would say because they are trying to build wealth, they become stingy or they're not generous. But here we're seeing from the story of the richest man in Babylon that even though he was building wealth or he was wealthy, but he was liberal, he was generous in his charities. Now, for me, that also goes to tell me that even while you're trying to build wealth, you don't have to be stingy. There's a balance to it. We'll get to it at some other point, but you don't have to be stingy. You have to be liberal, but not. There's a balance to it, right? So let me not just say be liberal and then you're spending everything that you have. No, you're not spending everything that you have, but yet you're being liberal. So he was generous with his charities, he was generous with his family, was liberal at his own expense. That means even in being liberal, it's at your own expense. Don't be over liberal. But there was something he said. He said, nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. And that goes to show that despite the fact that he was spending, his wealth increased. And that's just because there was something that was giving him money constantly. Hence why even though he was giving out so much, he did not become poor. And that's literally very important for us to note, that there was an income that was feeding his giving or his generosity. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, you, Akkad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the wealthiest man in all Babylon while we struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garments and you can enjoy the rarest food, while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiment that are presentable and feed them as long as we can. Now, note some things. His friends, they came, they grew up together, right? Let me read the next paragraph before I explain what I understand with this. It says, yet once we were all equal. I underline that part. And I remember someone was saying, one of my coaches was saying that if you, in the next 10, 5, 15 years, these times will come, it will come and go. But it's the decisions that you make now that will determine what you have in those times. So these guys all grew up together, but he was intentional about making a decision that now made him wealthy, while these other people were not wealthy. So it doesn't necessarily answer to just prayers and fasting like most people do. It also answers to intentionality of your actions and the decisions that you make. And I like when they said that you wear the finest garments and you enjoy the rarest food. Now, it means that with money, you can buy good things. You can buy clothes, you can eat good food, but they were saying they must be content if they have enough money to even feed their family, not to talk of not to clothe their families, not to talk of feeding their family. So can we see that disparity? It now says his friends now 16 and back to the book says we studied under the same master. We played in the same games, and in neither the studies nor the games did you outshine us. And in the days since you have been no more an honorable citizens, and in the years since you have been no more an honorable citizen than we are. Now, when I saw this particular part, I was just like, wow. I recall seeing a friend, I won't say friend, a classmate of mine's. I follow her online, so I saw a post on Facebook. It was Facebook. And I recall that this girl in question wasn't particularly the smartest. She wasn't even smart. Like when you're calculating or calling smart people, this babe will not even be part of them. But guess what? Now she's controlling lots of businesses, and she seems obviously wealthy. And it's, and when I was reading this book and I got to that part, I just remembered the babe. I am tempted to mention her name, but oh no, I will not. All right, so it was just something changed. Just like Akat's friends were complaining that guy, come, we studied together, we did everything together. How come? What did you do? How come you are rich? How come you are wealthy and we are not? Anyway, he says, nor have you worked harder or more faithfully, in so far we can judge. Why then should a fickle fate single you out to enjoy all the good things of life and ignore us who are equally deserving? So can you see, sometimes we think that it's just a work of faith, and you hear his friends saying that, why would fate single you out? I will not single us out. Why are you more deserving? Now, Akkad responds. Thereupon, Akkad remonstrated with them, saying, if you had acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youths, it is either you have failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or you did not observe them. Like for me, that was a shock. It just came like boom, 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 boom. If you are telling me that in all these years or years that are passing, yeah, you can only make barely enough for you to exist, then it means that you have either failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or you do not observe them. I underline that, meaning that it's two things. One, what are the laws that govern wealth? Two, you need to also observe them. You need to observe those laws. You need to know those laws, and you need to observe them. You need to learn those laws, and you need to observe them. So don't just say, okay, I'm learning. Don't just say, oh, I don't have money, or I'm not making money. You need to learn. There are laws that govern this thing that you need to learn. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to all. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every man upon which she bestows, upon whom she showers unearned gold. She makes wanton spenders who soon dissipate all they receive and are left beset by overwhelming appetite and desires they have not the ability to gratify. Yet others whom she favors become misers and all their wealth, fearing to spend what they have, knowing they do not possess the ability to replace it. They further are beset by fear of robbers and doom themselves to lives of emptiness and secret mysteries, miseries. Now, what he was just saying in this particular paragraph is that his friends were saying, "Oh, it's just fickle faith. Fickle faith means it's like saying you're just lucky." So he was not telling them that you guys think I'm lucky. Go and see people that have been lucky. A case in point to be people that are lottery winners. Yeah, that was lottery winners. People that are lottery winners, right? You know that they win something and then they waste the money. Or people that make money off betting, they waste the money. So he's just saying, a second, please. So it's just saying, so it's just saying here that you think we're just lucky. We're not, it's beyond luck, because people that claim to have been lucky, they didn't know what to do to make that wealth. And it takes me back to the story of, or it takes me to the story of, was it Donald Trump? I read in one of his books, Midas Touch, specifically also. It was saying that, sorry, it was saying there that, excuse me, it was saying there that even if he lost all his money today, he will regain them back. Basically, I think that the reason why he can say that is because he knows the laws that govern wealth creation. He knows the laws that govern wealth building. So the same thing Akkad is saying here, that it's not just about, it's not about fickle faith. Fickle faith hasn't really made people sustainable, hasn't really helped people to build wealth sustainably. There are laws, there are tricks that govern these things, and you must know them. Moving on, it says, others there probably are who can take unearned gold and add to it and continue to be happy and content citizens. But so few are there. I know of them, but by hearsays. Think you of the men who have inherited sudden wealth, and see if these things are not true. His friends admitted that of the men they knew who had inherited wealth, these words were true, and they besought him to explain to them how he became possessed of so much property. So he continued. It's just what I've summarized before, that people that win by lottery or by bet, many of them, very few of them, actually are able to build wealth and build upon it sustainably. He says, in my youth, now Akkad is talking, he says, in my youth, I looked about me and saw all the good things that were to bring happiness and contentment. And I realized that wealth increased the potential of this. Note what he said, in his youth. So that means that if you are what we call a Gen Z or a millennial, this is like one of the best times to start building wealth. If you're in your 30s, now is your 30s or your late 20s, now is the best time to start building wealth, because when you start building now, you are able to grow it very well. And you realize that he said, in my youth, I looked about me and saw all the good things that were to bring happiness and contentment, and realized that wealth increased the potential for all this, meaning that wealth would increase the potential for anything that you want. It goes for us to explain that wealth is power. With wealth, many things are possible. Wealth is what? Wealth is power. Wealth is money, is an empowering. Someone says money might not bring you, might not buy you joy, but might buy you some of the things that makes life easy for you. Says one may ornament the home with the richest of furnishings. One may sell the distant land. You can travel, you can go for vacation when there's money. I mean, we're wrapping up August, and people say August is the vacation month. You can travel, go for vacation. You can feast on the delicacies of far lands. Not every time you're eating amala and egusi soup or ewedu soup. You can eat other things. You can do continental and intercontinental dishes, right? One may buy the ornaments of the gold worker and the stone polisher. One may even build mighty temples for the gods. So that means if you're even doing religious work, money is an enabler to enable you to do that. It says, okay, one may do these things and many others in which there is delight for the senses and gratification for the soul. With money, wealth is an empowerer. It empowers you to get a lot of things done. And when I realized this, I declared to myself that I will claim my share of the good things of life. I need you to listen to this. Like, I was reading this and I was just like, God. Again, we're doing an in-depth study of the richest man in Babylon. It says, I would be one of, it says, and when I realized this, realize what? That wealth increases the potential for the things that brings you happiness and contentment. He says, when I realize this, I declare to myself that I will claim my share of the good things of life. Oh God, I almost feel like preaching to someone here. I will claim my share of the good things of life. It goes back to the first chapter when he talked about the desire, the man who desired gold. So until you really sit down and say, you know what, I desire this thing, until you really go back and say, you know what, I desire this thing, I want this thing, you just might not get it. All right. Moving on, he says, I will not be one of those who stand far off, enviously watching others enjoy. I will not be content to clothe myself in the cheapest raiment that look respectable. I will not be satisfied with the lot of a poor man. On the contrary, I will make myself a guest at the banquet of good things. I had to underline that part. Make myself a guest at the banquet of good things. That means, again, I can't summarize it more than the fact that it's desire. Like, I literally wrote it in my note here, my copy here. I wrote desire. So you need to desire this thing. It comes from first desiring. For Akkad, before he became the richest man in Babylon, he was the poorest of the poorest men, but he made up his mind. He was first a desire that he won't just be an onlooker. And again, that's what it comes like. You have to make a mind to say, you know what, I won't be an onlooker. I won't have to depend on other people. I will make smart decisions. I remember we were also at a point in our life when we were like, you know what, we can't continue like this. We have to make better decisions. And that greatly just changed things for us. Moving on, he said, being as you may know, the son of a humble merchant, one of a large family with no hope of an inheritance, and not being endowed, as you have so frankly said, with superior powers or wisdom, I decided that if I was to achieve what I desired, time and study would be required. What did he desire? He desired to become wealthy. And it says, for him to achieve that wealth, he had to what? Time and study will be required. Now, that's why they say that on the journey to building wealth, time is important. And not just time, meaning that you're not going to rush into it. You won't rush into it. We're not trying to it's not a get rich scheme. It's not a get rich scheme. So you're building for years, you're building for 3 years, not 3 years. In fact, I read someone said you're building for about 15 years. You're building for 15 years. And this is more important for people who do not come from wealthy backgrounds or privileged homes, or they're not married into wealth, because somebody else had made that sacrifice for them that they're enjoying. So he's now saying that time is required, and not just time. He says time and study. See, you're not sitting down praying and fasting. I'm a Christian. I believe so much in the word of God, but I also believe that you need to acquire knowledge. Knowledge is important. It's important for you to acquire knowledge. So he said, you take time and you study. Now, going forward, it says, as for time, all men have it in abundance. Each of you have let slip by sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Yet you admit you have nothing to show except your good families, of which you can be justly proud. And that's what I'm saying. That's why he says, if you start building wealth from your youth, say in your 20s, late 20s, or your mid 30s, you have time. By the time you're in your late 40s, early 50s, 60s, in fact, in your 60s, so let's say you're 35, for instance, you start consciously building, acquiring knowledge. By the time you're 50, you'd have built something really substantial. So I came across this compound interest calculator, and I was amazed at how much you can build wealth and compound interest can work to your favor. I'm sure that one of these days I will do a video on compound interest, and if I remember, I'll come back and link it somewhere here. But make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you're not, and take time to just go through some of my videos to see and learn, and to learn basically. Okay, moving on. It says, as for time, all men have it in abundance. Each of you have let slip by sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Yet you admit that you have nothing to show except your good families, of which you can be justly proud. So that means having a good family is something to be proud of, really. But what you do with the time that you have, in building wealth is also important. Time is what important. It says, as for study, did not our wise teachers teach us that learning was of two kinds? The one kind being the one you learn and knew, and the other one being in the training that taught us how to know what we do not know. So you can learn by maybe mistakes, you can learn by mistakes, and you can also learn by the things you learn, and the other one also acquiring training by the mistakes that you make. But of course, it's wiser to learn from other people that are supposed to just learning by mistakes. Therefore therefore did I decide to find out how one might acquire wealth. And when I had found out, to make this my task and do it well. See, he decided to study. And what he taught, he studied how to build wealth. And that's the truth. Like I always say that I started this wealth building journey, um being intentional about it, being most intentional about it. It's not been so long, but you'll be amazed at what you can start to learn when you begin to focus on building wealth, right? All right. So it says, for it is not okay. Therefore, did I decide to find out how one might accumulate wealth. And when I found out, to make this my task and do it well. That means you have to be consumed with desire to say, you know what, I want to build wealth. I want to build a legacy for my children. I always say, if you do not come from a wealthy home, make sure a wealthy home comes from you. I always tell people jokingly that, well, let me jump ahead of myself. Let me continue. Okay. For is it not wise that we should enjoy while we dwell in the brightness of the sunshine? For sorrows enough shall descend upon us when we depart from the darkness of the world of spirits. I found employment as a scribe in the hall of record, and long hours each day I labored upon the clay tablets. Week after week and month after month I labored, yet for my earnings I had nothing to show. Food and clothing and penitence to the God and other things for which I remember not what absorbed all my earnings, and my time, and but my determination did not leave me. Now, when I was reading this part, the story was is quite very similar to my own story. I know that someday I'll share from how we started and all of that. But for now, let's still enjoy what we have now. So he was saying here that, and for me, I think the very first thing you need to do is have an income. Have an income. Do something that will be bringing you money. Even if, like he said, that thing you're doing is just taking care of your food and your clothing and penitence to the God, have something that is bringing you money. That's the first thing. Income is literally the first. Having an income is the first step to building wealth. Now let's go on. It says, and one day Algamish, the money lender, came to the house of the city master and ordered a copy of the ninth law and said to me, I must have this in 2 days. And if the task is done by that time, 2 coppers will I give you. Now, Agamish was the money lender and literally like the bank of those days. So it was a big boy. He was a big man, right? So I labored hard, but the law was long. And when Agamish returned, the task was unfinished. He was angry, and had I been a slave, he would have beaten me. But knowing the city master would not permit him to injure me, I was unafraid. So I said to him, Agamish, you are a very rich man. Tell me how I may also become rich. And all night I will carve upon the clay, and when the sun rises, it shall be completed. See, can you see? When I just picked there is, to become wealthy, you need to also learn from wealthy people. I know there's been times where there'll be this post of today pick one. Then they give you maybe like millions of money, or you sit down with a wealthy man or a celebrity. And once people just say, "Ah, just give me the money," who celebrity help, who big man help. So he was saying here that he went to Agamish came to him to do a job, but he said, "No, instead of pay me money, give me wisdom, share your knowledge with me." So you must be willing to go all out. YouTube is there, um, Instagram is there, TikTok is there, Google is there. There are lots of platforms that you can learn from. In fact, like they always say, my coach will say, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. Not because the teacher has not been there all along, but the teacher will just show up. Just like you're watching this video and you're learning too, right? And we're learning from the wisdom of Akkad. Going on, it says, he smiled at me and replied, "You are a forward knave, and I will call it a bargain. But we will call it a bargain. All that night I carved, though my back pained and the smell of the wick made my head ache until my eyes could hardly see. But when we returned at sun up, the tablets were complete." That's desire. The question becomes, how how far are you really willing to go? Are you willing to like burn the midnight oil? Are you willing to are you invested in even your dreams, even your vision? Are you invested in it? Or rather, how invested are you in this? I remember, let me not compare it, but let's just continue. He stayed up. I could just imagine him. Imagine those lanterns and candles of those days, those centuries ago. Some of us even knew lanterns. Sitting down by it, just writing. His back was aching, but he was determined to say, "You know what? I had to break this baggage of poverty and indebtedness and everything," and it was determined. So my question to you is, how determined are you to like pursue what you really want? Do you just want it, or you really really desire it? And with desiring, it means that you're also willing to put in the action, put in the work to say, "I desire this thing, no matter what it's going to cost me. I'm going to push in, I'm going to plunge in, I'm going to just get it done." So we're learning from our career, right? Now says now I said, "Tell me what you promised. You have fulfilled your part of our bargain, my son," he said to me kindly, "and I am ready to fulfill mine. I will tell you these things you wish to know, because I'm becoming an old man, and old tongues love to wag. And when youth comes to age for advice, he receives the wisdom of years. But so often does youth think that the age know only the wisdom of days that are gone, and therefore profits not. But remember this: the sun that shines today is the sun that shone when your father was born, and will still be shining when your last grandchild shall pass into the dark." Guys, when I read this, it just dropped my heart that principles are principles. It doesn't matter who employs these principles. That's why you say, "Oh, why are people in the church not rich? Oh, they are jumping from one prayer meeting to another prayer meeting." Some things are just principles. It doesn't respect who is practicing it. As long as you practice those principles, it's still being the same son from our great grandfathers up until now. Same principles that this man listed in this book, how many centuries ago, are still like what still it's over a century ago, right? They're still prominent, they're still profound. So they say there's nothing new under the sky, but you need to go and digging to learn some of these things. He now says, "The thoughts of youth," he continued, "are bright lights that shine forth like the meters that oft make bright the sky. But the wisdom of age is like the fixed stars that shine so unchanged that the sailor may depend on them to hear his course." Like my people would say that whatever an old man sits down and sees, even if a young person climbs on a tree, you will not see that thing. That's the thing. So the wisdom of old people stays long, and it can help them steer direction. And thankfully, we can also glean from those wisdom from books like this one. Moving on, it now says, "Mark you my words, for if you do not, you will fail to grasp the truth, and I will tell you, and you will think that the night's work has been in vain." Then he looked at me shrewdly from under his saggy brows and said in a low, forceful tone, "I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep. So will you." Let me say it again, like I had to master that part. It says, a part of what I earned was mine to keep. I remember there's this pastor. He was sharing that he told his members in his church, like, usually, like, if you're in Africa, most times in Africa, we have more women show up in church. I mean, women are bodying carriers and all of that. So he told his church members, he said, "You people have been paying your tithes faithfully, but let's do something. Every time any money comes to your hand, and that is like your profit or your salary, make sure that you remove 20%. From the 20%, first pick 10% and pay aside. The remaining 10%, go and save it somewhere. He said he kept hammering that thing to his members. Always save 10% of whatever you earn. Always save it. Keep it somewhere. Just keep, don't check the. He said, put it in an account that you cannot withdraw from. Just keep keeping it there. Keep keeping it there. And he says, lo and behold, some of his members started doing that thing. At the end of 1 year, they went back to check the money and they were shocked at how much the money they had saved up. So he told them, he said, before it was happening, many of them had saved up money, they were buying land. These were seemingly illiterate women. But just because their principles, it worked. He says a part of what you earn is what is yours to keep. Go on, it says, then he continued to look at me with a glance, and I could feel pierce me, but said no more. Is that all? I asked. That was sufficient to change the heart of a sheep eater into the heart of a money lender, he replied. But all I earn is mine to keep. Is it not? I demanded. Far from it, he replied. Do you not pay the garment maker? Do you not pay the sandal maker? Do you not pay for the things you eat? Can you live in Babylon without spending? What have you to show for the earnings of the past month? What of for the past year? Fool, you pay to everyone but yourself. Dullard, you labor for others as well. You labor for others. As well be a slave and work for what your master gives you to eat and wear. If you do keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? Guys, let's sit with that. Many of us are paying everybody but ourselves. And that's the truth. Like, you need to get to that point where you're like, and the thing is, it has to be part of the first monies that you remove. I think I would even say this again for Christians. Most churchgoers, Christians, we're quick to remove our tithes and pay it into the church. But are you keeping something for yourself? Even God will not be angry at you. I don't want to hear that I don't have so much money. Even from that little that you have, there are mutual funds, for instance. Mutual funds start with as little as 5,000 naira. I'll probably see if I can put my referral link in the caption or in the description. So if you're interested, if you're in Nigeria, sign up. I don't know if he applies for people outside Nigeria, but if you're in Nigeria, start with that. You'll be amazed at what you can build. A part of what you earn is yours to keep. Be saving it, be keeping it, guys. Don't pay everybody but yourself. I don't pay yourself last. Pay yourself first. So what I do is every month before I receive my salary, I write a list of all the things that I need. So I'd have already spent my money on paper. I'll share with a friend. I said, see, I always spend my money on paper first. So what I notice is every time I'm writing what I need for the next month or how I spend my salary or any money that comes to me, I'm able to make better decisions. By the time I write it on paper, I can see that if I spend money this way, I will be broke in the shortest time. So I will go back. Most times I end up writing like 2 or 3 drafts before I receive my money. So when I receive whatever money, I'm better able to, appropriate it. But don't let me jump ahead of myself because we are still going to come to budgeting. It says, if you keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? And I did the calculation. So imagine that you keep for yourself 1/10, that's 10% of what you earn. In 10 years, you'd have actually made 1 year of 1 year. On the surface, it will be equivalent to 1 year of your salary or your income, right? But what you do not understand is that by the time you put that money into compound interest, I'll do a video, maybe it will be a short just to explain compound interest calculator. By the time you put that money into compound interest begins to work for you, and you will not just have that same value. The money would have increased in value and it would even beat inflation. Let's go on. It says, my knowledge of the numbers did not forsake me, and I answered, as much as I earn in 1 year. In our response, Algamish response, it says, you speak but have the truth. He retorted, every gold piece you save is a slave to work for you. Every copper it earns is its child that can also earn for you. If you would become wealthy, then what you save must earn, and his children must earn, and it all may help to give to you the abundance you crave. Just what I said, compound interest works. So let's say the first year you save, maybe you save like $5 every day or 5,000 naira every day. At the end of the year, you have $60. At the end of, or you have 60,000 naira, right? Now, by the next year, it's let's say it's going at 10% interest. It becomes $66 or 66 naira. By the next year, it will no longer be 66 again, because you're now adding the interest of each of those months to it. So at the end of the next year, instead of having 130, 130, 132, you would end up having, oh God, my knowledge of numbers fail me now, but I need to calculate it so that we are clear as to how this compound interest works. So let's say that year one, we are agreed that at $5 per month, year one you have, where's my calculator, $5 per month, year one you have $60. Now at 10% interest, it gives you, plus 10% interest, it gives you $66 or 66,000. Again, multiply by any money. We just need to get these figures right. By the second year, you save another 60,000. That gives you 126, right? Now, this 126 will now be times 10%. Can you see what's giving you? Sorry, times or plus 10%. It now gives you 138. Do you get now? It's now 138. It is no longer 120 or one. Let's see. 66 plus 66. It's no longer 132. It's now 138. Can you see? Multiply by multiple years. The money just continues to increase. So the money is now making money for you. I hope we understand that part, but I would definitely ensure to do a video on compound interest calculation so you can see how it's so magical, it's powerful. It now says, you think I cheat you for your long day's work. It continued, but I can pay you 1,000 times over. But I am paying you 1,000 times over if you have the intelligence to grasp the truth I offer. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. It should be no less than a tenth, no matter how little you earn. So the fact that you're not earning so much money is not even an excuse. Just make sure that you're not saving less than 10%. It says it can be much more than you can afford. So based on where you are in your financial journey, you can save more than that. I know some people earn so much right now and they are saving maybe 80%. They are saving, just start where you are. But minimum, ensure that you're not keeping less than 10%. It is important. Your future self will thank you for that. It now says it can be as much more as you can afford. Pay yourself first. Do not buy from the cloth maker and the sandal maker more than you can pay out of the rest and still have enough for food and charity and penitence to the gods. Can you see budgeting now? Do not buy from the clothes maker and the sandal maker. Some of them are going to rush to go and buy clothes or buy fancy things that we necessarily don't even need. Says, do not buy from them more than you can pay out of the rest and still have food, enough for food and charity and penitence to the God. Meaning that in your hierarchy, as you are removing your paying yourself, you are giving to the gods, you are doing charity, and you have food to eat. Having food to eat is important. Don't say because I'm saving or I'm in such a shrewd budget, you're not even now paying attention to your health. You need to be able to balance that. It now says, wealth like a tree grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant that seed, the sooner shall the tree grow. And the more faithfully you nourish and water that tree with consistent savings, the sooner may you bask in contentment beneath its shade. Can you see? So it's not just what you do one-off. You have to do it consistently for a year, consistently for 3 years, consistently for 5 years, consistently for 10 years, constantly for 15 years. By the 15th year, even before then, you're already in your millions. Before then, and let me tell you something, if you think that that time is too far, I want you to just know that whether you do it or not, that time will come and go. So what you do now before that time is equally very, 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 very important. It now says, so saying, he took his tablet and went away. I thought much about what he had said to me, and it seemed reasonable. So I decided that I would try it. Each time I was paid, I took one from each 10 piece of copper and hid it away. As strange as it may seem, I was no shorter of fun than before. I noticed little difference as I managed to get along without it, but often I was tempted, as my hoard began to grow, to spend it for some of the good things that the merchant displayed, bought by the camels and ships from the land of the Panaceas, but of the land of the Phoenicians. But I wisely refrained. That's self-control. You need to make up your mind. Remember, desire, strong desire. And then you must make up your mind that irrespective of how I feel or the temptation I think I'm facing, I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to push. I'm going to be determined. Because you know what happens again? When you start saving that money, you start seeing different things that are calling your name. You can see, this thing's calling your name. It has your name tag on it. You start seeing them. We're saying here that irrespective of that, push. Be wisely refrained from spending your money anyhow. A 12 month after Algamish had gone, a 12 months after Algamish had gone, he again returned and said to me, "Son, have you paid to yourself not less than 1/10 of what you have earned for the past year?" I answered proudly, "Yes, master, I have." That's how you be feeling fly when you see how much I've saved in 1 year. You'll be amazed. Oh my God, you'll be amazed. Anyway, says, "That is good," he answered, beaming upon me. "And what have you done with it?" "I've given it to Asma, the brickmaker, who told me he was traveling over the far sea, and in time he will buy for me the rare jewels of the Phoenicians. When he returns, we shall sell these at high price and divide the earnings." Really? He says, "Every fool must learn," he growled. "But why throw the knowledge of a brick master about jewels? Why would you go to the bread maker to inquire about the stars? No, by my tunic you would go to the astrologers if you had power to think. Your savings are gone, youths. You have dragged your wealth tree up by the roots. But plant another, try again. And next time, if you would have advice about jewels, go to the jewelry merchant. If you would know the truth about ships, go to the herdsman. Advice is one thing that is freely given away, but watch that you take only what is worth having. He who takes advice about his savings from one who is inexperienced in such matters shall pay with his savings for proving the falsity of their opinions. Saying this, he went away. And it was as he said, for the Phoenicians were scoundrels and sold to Asmi worthless pieces of gold, of glass that looked like germs. But as Agamish had bid me, I again saved each 10th copper. For now I had formed the habit, and it was no longer difficult. Can you guys see it? Can you see it? So this is what he was saying, that don't trust your money into the hands of foolish people. Don't take money advice from unwise people, people that are not saving, people that are not budgeting. Don't take money advice from them, people that are not trying to build wealth. We're all in different stages, so be mindful. Don't go and take advice from someone that is a trust fund baby, and anything that happens, they will still make money. Don't take money advice from them. Okay. But like he said to Alcad, he said, do it again. So even if you fail, even if you think that, okay, I made an investment choice and it was a wrong choice, all of that, go back, do it again. Don't give up. Keep trying, keep getting knowledge, keep getting better. Okay, time is far gone, and I think I'm still a little bit more off, so I might need to continue this. Okay, let's just go. Let's go. All right, he said, again, 12 months later, Agamish came to the room of the scribes and addressed me. What progress have you made since last I saw you? I have paid myself faithfully, I replied, and my savings I have entrusted to Aga the shoemaker to buy bronze, and each fourth month he does pay me the rental. That's good, but what do you do with the rental? I do have a great feast with honey and fine wine and spice cake. Also, I brought me a scarlet tunic, and someday I will buy me a young ass upon which to ride. To which Algamish laughed. You do eat the children of your savings. Then how do you expect them to work for you? And how can they have children that would also work for you? First, get thee an army of golden slaves, and then many a rich banquet may you enjoy without regrets. So saying, he again went away. So that means that the fact that you are saved or you are having investments that are giving you small, small money here and there, don't eat that money. Let me give you case in point. So, case in point, you probably invest in federal government bonds and or government bonds or private bonds, or you get dividends from your stocks or you're investing. He's saying here that don't spend that money, go back and invest that money again. You keep in so that the profit will also now earn you money. Okay, so unlike, don't be like Akad, who at first was declaring surplus for everybody. Don't be like that. It says, nor did I again see him for 2 years. When he came, when he once more returned, and his face when he once more returned, and his face was full of deep lines, and his eyes drooped, for he had become. Nor did I again see him for 2 years. When he once more returned, and his face was full of deep lines, and his eyes dropped, for he was becoming a very old man. And he said to me, Akkad, hast thou received yet the wealth which thou dreamest of? Hast thou achieved the wealth which thou dreamed of? And I answered, not yet all that I desire, but some I have, and it ends more, and it's earning much more. Do you still take advice from the brick maker about brick making? It gives good advice, I retorted. Akkad, he continued, you have learnt your lesson well. You first learnt to live upon less than you could earn. Now, you have learned to seek advice from those who are competent through their own experience to give it. And lastly, you have learned to make God work for you. I underline this because these are the three things. Really, these are the three things. Number one is what? You have to learn to live upon less than you earn. Learn to live upon less than you earn. That's when you can now remove minimum of 10% to save. Two, you must know who you are seeking advice from. Seek advice from people who are competent to give it. And three, you must learn to make God work for you. You must learn to what? Make God work for you. It says, you have taught yourself how to acquire money, again, how to keep it, and three, how to use it. Therefore, you are competent for a responsible position. I am becoming an old man. My sons think only about spending and give no thought to earning. My interests are great, and I fear too much for me to look after. And I fear too much for me to look after. If you will go to Napoli and look upon my lands there, I shall make you my partner, and you shall share in my estate. Now, in the first chapter, when I read, we talked about the sons of Akkad and the sons of Kobe and I can't remember Basil. And you can see now, look at even this Algamish, his son, somehow he didn't teach him financial literacy early. So for me, it just goes back to say that as you are building wealth, make sure that you are also building and training your children that will take over from you, so that they do not squander whatever effort or whatever wealth that you have built. Okay, it says, so I went to Napoli and took charge of his holdings, which were large. And because I was full of ambition, and because I had mastered the three laws of successfully handling wealth, I was enabled to increase greatly the value of his property. So I prospered much. And when the spirit of Algamish departed from the sphere of darkness, I did share in his estate as he had arranged under the law. So spake Akkad, and when he had finished his tale, one of his friends said, you are indeed fortunate that Algamish made you an heir. See what he said. He said he mastered it. He was full of ambition. He didn't say, okay, now I'm working with Akkad. Oh, I now have a better job. Oh, I now have more money. He did not become spendthrift. He did not become a spendthrift. Check in my video. I have a video on lifestyle inflation things that you can work on. Don't say because you now earn more money or you can now become a spendthrift. No, continue to master these laws of one, acquiring money, keeping money, and multiplying your money. Now, when he was done with it, one of his friends says, "Oh, Aka, they are fortunate." That's what some people just say they are fortunate, not remembering that he learnt the principles. He had learnt in school for 4 years, 4 years of trial and error and consistency. Anyway, fortunate says, so spake Akkad that when he had finished his tale, one of his friends said, "You are indeed fortunate that Algamish made you an heir. Fortunate only in that I had the desire to prosper before I first met him. For 4 years, did I not prove my definiteness of purpose by keeping 1/10 of all I earn? Would you call a fisherman lucky who for years so studied the habits of the fish that each that with each changing wind he will cast his nets about them? Opportunity is a naughty goddess who wastes no time on those who are not prepared." Can you see? Look at one of his friends. That's how people just be and just talk anyhow. You have strong willpower to keep on after you lost your first year's earning. You are unusual in that way. Spoke up another. Willpower, retorted Akkad. What nonsense. Do you think willpower will give a man the strength to lift a burden the camel cannot carry, or to draw a load the oxen cannot budge? Willpower is but the unflinching purpose to carry a task you set for yourself to fulfillment. If I set for myself a task, be it so trifling, I shall see it through. How else shall I have confidence in myself to do important things? Shall I say to myself, for 100 days I would walk across the bridge into the city. I will pick from the road a pebble and cast into the stream. I will do it. If on the seventh day I passed by without remembering, I would not say to myself, tomorrow I will cast the pebble, which will do as well. Instead, I will retrace my steps and cast the pebble. Not on the 20th day would I say to myself, Aka, this is useless. What does it avail you to cast a pebble every day? Throw in a handful and be done with it. No, I will not say that nor do it. When I set a task for myself, I will complete it. Therefore, I am careful to start difficult and impractical tasks because I love leisure. So in saying that, set smart goals. Don't set things that are impossible for you to achieve. Don't say you want to save or you want to invest 50% of your money that is not even enough for you to spend. That's not wise. So and be committed to it. So he said he loves leisure. So he makes sure that he sets goals that are achievable. He says, okay. Then another friend spoke up and said, if what you say is true and does seem as you have said reasonable, then be so simple. If all men did it, why would not enough wealth go? If all men did it, there will not be enough wealth to go around. Wealth grows wherever men exert energy, Akkad replied. If a rich man builds a new palace, is the gold he pays out gone? No, the brickmaker will take a part of it. The laborer has a part of it. The artist has part of it. And everyone who labors upon the house has part of it. Yet, when the palace is completed, is it not worth all it costs? And is the ground upon which it stands not worth more because of it there? And is the gold that adjoins is not and is the ground that adjoins is not worth more because it is there? Wealth grows in magical ways. No man can prophesy the limit of it. Have not the Phoenicians built great city on bare coast with the wealth that comes from the ship of their commerce on the sea? That means that wealth grows in amazing ways. So don't think that this wealth tree can end or everybody cannot become wealthy. You'll be amazed at how much value each of us can bring on the table to ensure that wealth continues to go around. So don't think that, oh, there are a lot of millionaires, I can't be rich. No, that's not possible. You can't actually be very rich and wealthy. You'll be amazed. Just apply the principles. Going on, it says, what then do you advise us to do that we may also become rich? Asked another one of his friends. The years have passed and we have nothing, and we are no longer young men, and we have nothing put by. Can you see? That's why in this lesson, people are going to be after and so your disposition is very 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 very, very important. It now also goes to say, I advise that you take the wisdom of our Gamish and say to yourself, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. Say to yourself, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. Say it in the morning when you first rise. Say it at noon. Say it at night. Say it at each hour of each day. Say it to yourself until the words stand out like letters of fire across the sky. Say it to yourself. A part of all I earn is mine to keep. Impress yourself with the idea. Fill yourself with the thoughts that take each portion seems wise. Let it be no less than one tenth and lay it by. Arrange the other expenditure to do if necessary and lay by that portion first. So remove your 10% first. Say it as building my wealth tree. Remove it first because I promise you, if you don't remove it first, eventually you'll be tempted to spend it. So just make sure it's the first thing you're removing. If you're a Christian, you're removing your tithes. Remove the 10%. Remove it first. Be faithful to it. That's what we are saying here. Be faithful to it. Then learn. Soon you will realize what a rich feeling it is to own a treasure upon which you alone have claim. As it grows, it will stimulate you. A new joy of life will thrill you. Greater efforts will come to you to earn more. For as you increase earnings, you will not the same percentage for of your increased earnings will not the same percentage be yours to keep. So the money is still yours. Eventually, it says, make it, then learn to make your treasure work for you. Make it your slave, make its children and your children's children work for you. Ensure an income for the future. Look thou Look thou at the aged, and forget not that in the days to come thou also will be numbered among them. Therefore invest thy treasure with great caution, that it may not be lost. Unsure rates of returns are Issues rate of returns are deceitful sirens that sink, but to lure the unweary upon the rocks of great loss and remorse. That's the thing. Whether you save or you don't save, time will come and go. But what you can do for yourself is to make an effort to start building that wealth tree. Like when the time comes, 5 years will come, 10 years will come, 15 years will come. What are you going to see in those times? That's what it's saying here. And also, it's not saying that even when you're trying to save or invest, make sure that you do not go with people that have extremely high rates. I was talking with someone today, I was saying her to do mutual funds, and she was like, so I told her the percentage. She was like, is that by a month? I said, by a month, okay. They'll just steal your money. Don't go and invest in that kind of thing that will give you outrageous returns, and then you lose your capital. Your capital is very, very important. So I'm almost wrapping up this chapter. So that ends this episode. It says, provide also that your family may not want, should the gods call you to their realms. For such protection is always possible to make provision with small payment at regular intervals. Therefore, the prudent man delays not in expectation of a large sum becoming available for such a wise purpose. Counsel with wise men. Seek the advice of men whose daily work is earning money. That's why they talk about financial advisors. And for those that cannot afford them, start with YouTube channels, read books, learn. You'll be amazed. There's so much to learn. Seek the advice of men whose daily work is earning money. Let them save you from such an error as I made myself in entrusting my money to the judgment of Houseme, the brickmaker. A small return and a safe one is far more desirable than risk. So don't just investments are generally risky, but we have the medium risk, low risk, and high risk. So make sure that you're doing investments that have a lower. Make sure that the investment that has your money guaranteed to return back to you. Now it says, enjoy life while you are here. Do not overstrain or try to save too much. If 1/10 of all you earn is as much as you can comfortably keep, be content to keep this portion. Live likewise according to your income, and let not yourself get niggardly and afraid to spend. Life is good and life is rich with things worthwhile and things to enjoy. So you can see that's the balance to it. Budget. As you are budgeting, don't be too stingy with yourself. Take care of yourself. But remember, start with 10% and gradually grow. The crime will be when you're not even making any effort to save anything. That will be the crime. It says, his friends thanked him and went away. Now notice the disposition. It says, some were silent because they had no imagination and could not understand. Some were sarcastic because they thought that one so rich should divide with old friends, not so fortunate. But some had in their eyes a new light. They realized that Algamish had come back each time to the room of the scribe because he was watching a man walk his way out of darkness into light. When that man had found the light, a place awaited him. No one could fill that place until he had for himself worked out his understanding, until he was ready for opportunity. So nobody can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. These things are the later. These were the later who in the following years frequently visited Akkad, who received them gladly. He counselled them and gave them freely of his wisdom, as men of broad experience are always glad to do. And he assisted them in so investing their savings that they would bring in a good interest with safety and would neither be lost nor entangled in investment that paid no dividend. The turning point in this man's life came upon that day when they realized the truth that came from Algamish to Akkad and from Akkad to them. The path of all you earn is yours to keep. Guys, this is so much. So your disposition. Some people will hear these things and be like, and so, and this. No, your disposition is important because it will go a long way in determining what you do with it or how or what you achieve. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.